I'm Lauren May. Welcome to NBC 10 at Issue. On this week's episode, we're taking a look back on the year in politics, and we'll also take a look at what's ahead. It has been a year that began with President Trump taking office for a second time, and a swift makeover of the federal government followed. Congress passed the president's One Big Beautiful Bill, but it also came to a stalemate that led to the longest government shutdown in history. November saw Democrats win sweeping victories in governor's races in New Jersey and Virginia, and they had success in a Supreme Court retention race in Pennsylvania. And joining me now to discuss all of this and what's ahead for 2026 is a panel of political experts and insiders. Guy Shiraki is a Republican who previously ran for Congress and is now a columnist for Broad and Liberty. Patrick Murphy is a former Democratic congressman who represented Pennsylvania. He was also acting Army Secretary during the Obama administration. Drew Murray is a Republican who has been a candidate for Philadelphia City Council. And Ryan Boyer is a labor leader who is currently the business manager for the Building and Construction Trades Council. He also chaired Mayor Sherrell Parker's transition team. Welcome to all of you. Great to see you.
Great to see you.
Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you.
So we're going to talk a little national politics, a little state politics, a little local politics, and we're going to look ahead. But I want to start with some national politics that has come to Pennsylvania. In December, we saw President Trump and we saw Vice President Vance coming to Pennsylvania to talk about the economy. The economy is something I heard from people during the 2024 presidential race. People wanted those prices to come down. People are still talking about the economy. And we have seen that not everyone is happy with how the administration has handled things so far. So I'm going to start over here with my Republican friends. Should that kind of thing have happened maybe earlier in their administration to come out and talk about, hey, here's what we're going to do and why it's a priority?
I think that what we all knew is that things were broken. Inflation was out of control. We had a problem at the border. American energy production had been slow. We drained our strategic reserves. I mean, each facet of our society that impacts our economy was broken. It's going to take a while. What President Trump needs to do is what he started to do last week, which is to talk to us, explain to us. I think most of us understand that things were really bad. We saw it firsthand. We didn't need economists. We didn't need charts and graphs. Every time we had to pay a bill to heat our home or we went to the gas pump, we knew it was bad. He's made improvements, but he's not there. I think the message should be simple. Things were bad. We're starting to do things to make them better. Help me finish the job. If he tries to tell us, if he takes a page from the Biden book, and that is telling everybody with charts and graphs how good things are, it'll be a disaster. If he empathizes and says the work is not done, he'll do well. I hope what we saw the last few weeks in the Poconos and the Lehigh Valley is the beginning of them understanding they've been working hard, but they haven't been telling us what's going on. Now it's the time to do both. Tell us what's going on, but commit to getting the job done.
And Lauren,
he did have some charts, by the way, when he was in Mount Pocono.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I would just say, listen, the audio doesn't match the video, right? It's not a messaging problem. It's when he said on day one, inflation will go down. It's not. It's gone up. It's 2.9% this year. When he said prices will go down, they've gone up. Double digits.
The rate of inflation has gone down, though.
Yeah. Well, actually, it was 2.8% under Biden in his last year. It was up in the first 2 years, but that was because of COVID and some recovery efforts. But then also, the thing that has gone up is unemployment, 4.6%. We have 1.1 million less jobs today than a year ago. And that's why people are hurting out there. And that's why you saw massive election swings in places like Bucks County and across the state just a month and a half ago. And I think you're going to see it going into 2026.
And it's amazing that guy uses the word empathy. I don't think the president knows how to spell empathy. He went out and he said that affordability was a hoax. And he exacerbated the inflation by putting tariffs on. Every economist in the world worth their salt said that the tariffs were going to exacerbate this economy. And it's a tax on everyone. We all pay for those goods. So I disagree that it's coming down. You have to acknowledge that it's a problem before you can fix the problem. And his lack of acknowledgement that affordability is a problem is the fundamental problem. The fundamental problem is that he does not have empathy. And when you take collective bargaining rights from 1 million federal workers, and you fire federal workers, that goes into the number that Patrick talked about, the unemployment.
Let me ask you something about something that Vice President Vance really pointed to. And he talked about tax season. And he said, hey, people are going to have a really good tax season. They're going to see the result of things like no tax on overtime, no tax on tips, especially for, I want to ask you, Ryan, for
The
folks in labor.
is de
That no
minimis.
tax on overtime, is that going to be
The
something
no
that makes a
tax on
difference?
overtime is de minimis. It stops at a certain amount. The biggest beneficiaries of Trump tax cuts is the upper 1%. Let's not kid. This is a redistribution of wealth to the top. That is what these tax cuts are, and they've always been. If you look at the Trump and the big ugly bill, he is going up on health care in some cases triple the amount by not saving those subsidies.
And the problem is that we're making our kids, like, you know, I'm a girl dad and a boy dad, right? Ryan, I know you have 2 girls.
Yes.
Our kids are paying for this. That big, ugly bill added $3.4 trillion in debt. This isn't a Democratic talking point. This is the Penn-Wharton budget model. $3.4 trillion. The first Trump administration was $8 trillion in national debt. We are now up to $38 trillion in debt. We're spending $1 trillion just on the interest of that debt. It's immoral taking it from our kids for the wealthiest 1% of America.
We briefly touched on the elections that we saw in 2025. And Drew, I want to ask you about this because you have run for office locally during the first Trump administration and then under the Biden administration, right? Those were the timing,
yes,
I think, of
yes.
them.
Mm-hmm.
Is it different, do you think, for Republicans who are running now during this Trump administration?
Look, I think sometimes it is difficult when you live in a city like Philadelphia. I ran a municipal race, and just being in a purple state like the state of Pennsylvania, you're going to have people who love President Trump and people who don't like President Trump, and that's on both sides of the aisle. I said when I was running for office, you know, oftentimes the first question that I was asked as a Republican was, what do you think about President Trump? And sometimes it's a difficult question. You could like the policies of President Trump, but not like the execution, not like maybe some of the lack of empathy. I would agree with you, Ryan. There is a lack of empathy, at least of the perception. When Donald Trump sometimes says things, it does feel like there's a lack of empathy. When you look at the videos of ICE and rounding up people and deporting them, look, we had a border crisis. There's going to be people who have to be deported, but personally, I wouldn't put it to music and have videos of it. So I do agree there's a lack of empathy, and it can be difficult. And if you are running for office in the state of Pennsylvania, whether it's a governor's race that we're going to have next year or a lot of state rep races, you're going to be asked that question by both Democrats and Republicans. What do you think about President Trump? And I'll be honest, as a moderate, I always say, you know, I like the policies. I don't always like the execution. I don't always like what he puts out on Twitter and X. But I don't like what a lot of politicians put out on Twitter and X. I think we need to get back to a point where, you know, there's some, you know, decorum in politics, and it is going to be difficult. It can be a challenge running as a Republican in a purple state or a blue city like the city of Philadelphia.
There will be a bunch of Republicans running in this purple state in the midterms.
Absolutely.
We're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about more. First, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
This is NBC 10 at Issue.
We're back now on this edition of NBC 10 at Issue. Our panel of political insiders is helping us take a look back at 2025 and look ahead to what stories may make political headlines in 2026. So welcome back to all of you. We talked a little national politics before the break. I want to turn things to Harrisburg and state Pennsylvania politics now and talk about this budget that was way overdue. It took a very long time to get done. It did not include recurring funding for SEPTA in the end. Both sides, though, came away afterwards saying that it was a win, saying that it was successful. Was it really, Ryan?
I believe it was a missed opportunity. We have something called skill games that they had a chance to tax. I think it's an issue of fundamental fairness. You have people to go in the casino, they give the state a large portion in tax dollars. Then you go to the bodega where they essentially have the same machine with no taxation. That could have alleviated a lot of problems that we have. We have structural deficits with SEPTA. We have school funding problems. We could talk about school choice. I think that issue is already done. If you take Philadelphia charter schools, they'll be the 3rd largest district in Pennsylvania. So the school choice issue is already done. We have school choice. Now it's adequately funding the schools for our children to have a better education and a better opportunity. And I think that they squandered that opportunity away. And also, SEPTA. People need to get to work. It's an economic engine. SEPTA is very important to this region. It's the reason why the Chamber of Commerce implored the members of the General Assembly to get their act straight so we can fund this and it's not just SEPTA. We have to think about public and mass transit in Allegheny County. It would have potentially included others. But we have to understand that if we're going to talk about paying your fair share, if I'm a casino owner and I'm investing money in Pennsylvania and I have to compete with a person that just put a Pace-O-Matic machine in the store, it's unfair and it's a missed opportunity to fund the children of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
Let me go over to the other side of the aisle here. Was this budget a success? What was in it? What wasn't in it?
They tried to make lemonade out of lemons. Look, it took far too long and did far too little. The only thing it did do was spend us $3 billion that we don't have. So you think this fight was bad, wait until next year, because they spent $3 billion we don't have, and next year they're going to be less money in the savings account to bail us out. They missed an opportunity to grow the economy. They missed an opportunity to balance the budget. And with all due respect to my friend Ryan, on school choice, they missed a huge opportunity. Charter schools are actually the second largest school district in the state. The third largest school district is kids on waiting lists to get into charter schools. There are 3 times as many kids on waiting lists for charter schools as there are in the Pittsburgh School District. We should work together. Those parents need choice. For too long, the governor who ran as the school choice governor, the governor who went on national television said he was for school choice, the governor who gives school choice to his children, there are almost 100,000 kids waiting for scholarships on waiting lists for charter schools or going to cyber schools that are getting their funding cut. There was an opportunity for a bipartisan agreement on that, just like there was for SEPTA. SEPTA can't continue to operate by passing a budget on Market Street in Philadelphia with a built-in deficit and handing the bill to Harrisburg. Harrisburg should be a partner in this. If you want to grow SEPTA, if you want people to get to work, whether it's to CHOP or to corporate centers in the suburbs, SEPTA needs to get their act together and invite Harrisburg to be a partner rather than just people that pays a bill that they drop on their desk.
Drew, a lot of the conversation about SEPTA was, Philly, but certainly it's the suburbs as well. How did you, watching it from Philly, how did you view sort of that debate?
Look, I agree with Brian. We are the economic engine of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and SEPTA needs to be funded, but as Guy said, it needs to work well. And as a former suburbanite, I came to 17th and Girard and took the R5 in. It's important not only for businesses, it's important for a lot of kids going to and from school, but it's got to work well. They can't work at a deficit all the time. And again, go back to Harrisburg and just ask for a check. There are ways to compromise. There are ways to understand that they could need money, but there's also efficiencies that have to be brought to the table instead of just asking for money. It is so important for southeastern Pennsylvania. SEPTA is.
But Drew, facts have to matter. Harrisburg is at the table. Harrisburg, the Senate Republicans, they have an appointment on the board. The board is appointed by each chamber. So they have representation there. Harrisburg is at the table. Harrisburg should be a partner. Now, the argument can be made, should they be a bigger partner? Absolutely, because if the lion's share of the money is coming from Harrisburg, they should have a say. I don't disagree with that, but they are there. So let's huddle together and let's not make this a partisan issue. Mass transit and infrastructure didn't start off being partisan issues. Now they are. And I'm not understanding why we have to politicize everything. People have to get, like you said, we have corporate centers in the suburbs and we have great locations like we're in now with Comcast. People have to get to work. If we don't get people to work in a great way, how are we going to grow the economy of Philadelphia and by extension the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania?
All right, we're going to have to take a quick break. Patrick, we didn't get you in on this one. We're going to start with you at the next one, and we're going to talk midterms. We'll be right back.
This is NBC 10 at Issue.
We're back now on this edition of NBC 10 at Issue, and our panel of political insiders is helping us take a look back at 2025 and look ahead to what stories may make political headlines in 2026. Like the midterms. We're going to start with the midterms. Patrick Murphy, I'm going to start with you. Former congressman, you know what it takes to win a congressional race. What do you think the midterms are going to be about in 2026? Is it going to be about the economy, about President Trump? What's it going to be about?
It's really about the economy, and it's about affordability. And I think past is prologue. The first Trump administration, his first midterm, they had control of the House, Senate, and White House under President Trump then. The Democrats had to win 24 seats. They won 40. This cycle, they have to win 2 seats. So you look at this past year, we had great veterans, great candidates, new generation Democrats. They overperformed across the state. And here in suburban Philadelphia, you had the youngest sheriff elected, an Army veteran, Sadiq Kamar. You had another combat veteran, Army veteran, Danny Slicer, new sheriff of Bucks County. You had just across the river, Mikey Sherrill, who won by 14 points. Who people said, I was on national television that day saying she's going to win. And they were like, no way. I'm like, she's going to win. And she won by 14 points.
Did you think she was going to win by that much?
No, I did not. Although I thought it was going to be high single digits. But what I think you're seeing are people who are pissed off out there, and they do not want the status quo. And they don't want people to say, hey, it's raining when they're getting... I won't say the rest of that quote, okay? Because the prices to live in our country right now are too damn high. And we got to make sure that we're in this together. And you can't get in together and find money for the wealthiest 1% of America at the same time when prices are going up. And I'm not trying to say it's all doom and gloom. No, I like some of the things that President Trump's doing. I like the fact that I'm an all-of-the-above energy guy. I like the fact that we have 3 Mile Island open up for a data center. And when I look at there's going to be 10 new reactors, $80 billion worth on that. That's positive. What I don't like, though, is they're making it sound like there's not an affordability crisis in America, and especially here in Pennsylvania.
I mean, we heard both from, I was at the event with President Trump and I was at the event with Vice President Vance. And, we heard President Trump kind of, making fun of how the Democrats are talking about affordability. But then he would come out and say, that it's important. So, but, going from 2025 to 2026, Republicans have to do something different, right?
Sure.
What are you going to do different than in 2025?
Look, I think it's a fundamental issue, which is this. The people who broke the economy, the people who opened the border, spent us into oblivion, drained down our natural resources, and caused inflation, now want us to believe they're going to suddenly fix it. They suddenly get it.
It was COVID, guy. Come on.
We spent $7 trillion. Part of the reason the Affordable Care Act is broken is we spent money because now the wealthiest 5% are getting their insurance subsidized. COVID's over. So the fundamental question is this. 1, is the economy improving by next fall? And 2, to the extent it's still going to need work, right? Spoiler alert, things are not going to be magically perfect next year. The question is this. Do you want the people who are trying to fix it and making it better to continue, or do you want to bring back the Democratic Party that caused it in the first place? And the other question is this. Every Democrat running for Congress should be asked this question. Are you going to bring up articles of impeachment, and are we going to waste America's time the way we did in 2018 and 2019? I agree with Patrick. It is about the economy. And we need to spend 2026, 2027 talking about our economy, affordability, energy, the border, getting working class families back working. We don't need to have impeachment hearings. And there have already been articles of impeachment introduced. The American public need to know not just who's going to win, but if you win, what are you going to do? Affordability is issue number 1. Partisan politics should not be on the agenda.
Shocker. I agree. No impeachment talks. This is about the middle class of America.
You want Democrats to commit to that?
Yes, it's a fight for the middle class of America, and we cannot be sidetracked by these shows that we know isn't going to go anywhere. What difference does it make? Let's fight for the middle class. And I believe that the midterms will show that the Democrats are going to win. Because the reality is when Republicans take over, look, spending, they used to say that the Democrats would tax and spend. Well, the only thing worse than tax and spend is don't tax and spend because you make the budget go up like went up under Trump 1 and Trump 2. So, as Patrick said, LiUNA, all of the above energy. Love the energy. And love some enforcement of the border, right? But as Drew said, you have to do that with compassion, love, and a strategic approach. You can't just shotgun this thing because you're separating people from their families. You have to have some care with that. And you also can't be a hypocrite and want illegal labor at Mar-a-Lago, but don't want it when it's your political person.
We're going to have to take a quick break. Drew, we did not get to you in this segment. We will get to you in the next one. We're going to talk more 2026 on the other side. We'll be right back.
This is NBC 10 at Issue.
Drew, I want to start with you because we didn't talk to you in the last segment, and I want to talk about what is coming to the city and coming to the region in 2026. So many different events, and I want to actually know from all of you, what are you most looking forward to?
That's a tough question. I live right up the Parkway, so there's going to be a ton of events on the Parkway, which can be good and bad. But there are so many things happening. Obviously, the 250th, you have World Cup, you have NCAA basketball coming, you have MLB coming with
Which one?
the All-Star
Which,
game.
it's
Got to be what's the 250th? You live in Philadelphia. It's got to be the 250th.
All right, Guy, what are you most looking forward to?
Well, I'm split. The MLB, because I'm a baseball guy, but I have a godson in Australia. In the opening round, America plays Australia. So I'm torn. I want to root for America, but I got to root for my godson.
All right, we'll let you have both.
Don't sleep on the Sixers. Don't sleep on the Sixers, by the way. I'm excited about Governor Josh Shapiro. I mean, this is his re-election year. But like these announcements that get people working again. $31 billion of investment. At a time when America lost 1 million jobs, we brought 16,000 new jobs here in Pennsylvania.
I'll let you have it. Ryan, you get the final word.
Well,
Which one?
I like Josh, but I'm looking forward to a possible soccer match on July 4th between America and Great Britain. Wouldn't that be great? Because you mixed the 250, that revolution, with that on a soccer match in the pitch.
All
I
right.
love it.
We'll see you all here in 2026. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day.